So, yeah. Yeah, it just seemed like when Councilmember Bracco was talking, it was a little echoey, but he probably wasn't behind his microphone, right? Was he
The
just
hell I
standing
wasn't.
around?
Well, good afternoon. Having reached the hour of 3:04, welcome to your town hall, our sparse audience, but all are always welcome. It is being taped and broadcast live. Tonight, this afternoon's invocation will be given by our town clerk, Lisa Cole, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by the mayor and council. Madam Clerk.
Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business, guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance this evening. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, may I have a roll call?
Councilmember Bracco.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Hicks. Here. Councilmember Lusk.
Here.
Councilmember Morales. Here. Vice Mayor Egbert. Here. Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thanks. Item number 5 is approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved for this afternoon. Item number 6 is called to the public. At any time, any member of the public is invited to address the town council on any issue which is on tonight's consent agenda or any issue which the town council can lawfully act upon at a future meeting. Pursuant to Arizona open meeting laws, the council may not discuss the items, but individual members of the council may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the council, may ask staff to review the matter, or may ask the matter to place on a future agenda. I don't have any speaker cards. Does anybody like to address the council? Seeing no movement, I will close the call to the public and move on to council brief summary of current events. Does anybody have any events since like about 4 days ago?
Yeah.
The only thing I had was a reminder of our classic car show out at Veterans Memorial Park tomorrow. Very excited to go see. It's I think the 27th annual, but most of it's been down in Tubac, so I'm very excited to have it up here. Mr. Town Manager, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Mayor, I do not.
Okay, thank you. Next is item number 9, which is the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We now come to item number 9. Madam Clerk?
Executive session pursuant to ARS Section 38-431-03A1 to discuss and consider the interviews, employment, assignment, appointment, salaries, and benefits of the town manager. Pursuant to ARS Section 38-431-03A3 for legal advice with the town attorney. And pursuant to ARS Section 38-431-03A4 for discussion and consultation with the town attorney in order to consider the town's position and instruct the town attorney regarding the town's position regarding contracts that are the subject of negotiations, all relating to the discussions and contract negotiations with Conrad Hildebrandt and/or Shane Dealey, candidates for Saharita Town Manager.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion at this time to go to executive session.
Second.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, and I'll ask our town attorney and our town clerk to please join us upstairs. Thank you. We're back, and at this time I'll entertain a motion to resume our regular scheduled meeting.
So moved.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we're back in regular session. Madam Clerk, will you please read item number 10?
Discussion and possible action approving the town manager employment agreement, Saharita contract number 220063.
Thank you. And we had, as you can see by the clock, we had a robust discussion upstairs. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
move to approve Sarita contract number 220063, an employment agreement with Shane Dilly.
Second.
Any further discussion? I know we probably don't have a lot of discussion, but we're very excited. Well, let me vote first. Maybe a split vote. All in-
Some of us are excited.
Thank you for making the trip down the mountain for this meeting.
all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Now, congratulations and welcome to the town of Sawarita. And if you'd like to say a couple of words, you don't have to.
No pressure.
Yes, absolutely.
The one and only time you'll be over there.
That's right.
I don't mind coming here.
And there's that little button by your right arm on the top, that,
On the
right
platform.
arm down in the corner.
Right there,
That's
right
a
there.
toggle, and it moves it up and down the whole podium,
Oh,
because the
wow.
mic doesn't move a lot.
Okay,
We have fancy technology in the town of South.
I like it.
Okay, time's up.
The red light didn't go off.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate the thorough process. It was exciting to go through it. I'm humbled, I really am, and extremely grateful for the opportunity to serve this beautiful community. And I look forward to working with each of you and this wonderful staff team that we have, and the community. So again, thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
We're excited to have you here and exciting to work together as a team.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Not nearly as much as AC.
Right. But make sure he keeps working, okay? On there. Next, we move to item number 11. Madam Clerk?
Presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding recommendations associated with the employee classification and compensation study performed by HR No Consulting, including pay structure change, employee compensation adjustments, and associated budget transfers.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Silva. We get to see you in person this
Yes,
time.
it's great to be here. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. On January 24th, which was just this past Monday, Igor Sheglev, president of HR No, presented the results of a townwide comprehensive employee classification and compensation study. This study included both a comparison study from relevant regional job markets of employee compensation programs and a comprehensive analysis of the job classifications in the town's pay plan. At that January 24th meeting, HR No shared the proposed pay plan and salary adjustment recommendations for current employees. Because there is no one-size-fits-all solution for every organization, council challenged staff to present multiple options for pay adjustment implementation with an emphasis on public safety. Given the current climate as it relates to police, which brings along significant recruiting and retention challenges, staff developed 2 proposals for sworn police personnel that are separate from other town employees potentially affected by the market study results. So before we go over the options for implementation, I just want to give you a little bit more context. In the market analysis, 92 jobs were studied. 43 of those jobs were below market, 43 were within market, and 3 were above. 3 did not have any results. Those are seasonal employees like our lifeguards. Of those jobs below market, the average was approximately 11%. So in order to remedy the market disparities, we do have some work to do. We need to approve a new pay scale. We need to assign jobs to the pay scale based on the market results. And then we need to increase wages. We're looking for a general increase for all employees, non-police personnel. Then we would like to increase non-sworn below market positions. And then we have some separate options for police. So this is the recommended pay scale. It's a little bit small because it's got a lot of numbers, but the important thing to note is that there is a 5% midpoint separation between pay grades. So if an employee were to get a promotion, their pay range would increase by 5%. The average bandwidth is between 35 and 50%, and you heard our consultant explain why that's important. So once you've adopted the new pay scale, we then assign jobs to the new pay grades based on the market recommendations. So this is just an example of what some of our jobs look like in a new pay scale. This shows at least 10% midpoint separation between entry and senior level jobs, which is what's recommended in best compensation practices, and it does increase incentive for employee promotions. It gives people a reason to try to move up on the scale. So now we need to remedy our non-competitive wages. We are asking for non-sworn town employees to have a 2% general increase. Below market non-sworn positions would receive additional adjustments. And then we have two options for police for pay adjustments. I'm going to go over the non-sworn employees first because that's a lot more simple and a lot less expensive. So for our non-sworn employees, initially, during the January 24th presentation, council learned that wages increased in 2021 by a significant amount. Our consultant presented that it was the biggest jump he'd seen in a very long time. So much so that he recommended a 2 to 3% increase across the board for all town employees. We know that minimum wage increased 5% in 2021, and the 2021 average inflation rate was 4.69%. And that's the annual inflation. That's not month by month. So the annual cost increase of a 2% adjustment for all non-police employees, assuming vacancies and all vacancies being filled at midpoint, is $170,350, give or take. That's an approximate number. And that includes our employee-related expenses, such as FICA, pension, all the extra stuff that we have to pay. For the remainder of this fiscal year, that's an approximate $71,000 impact. We then need to make additional adjustments for those positions that are still below market. That remedies our below market pay rates, and it moves our current positions to appropriate pay ranges. We are proposing an additional 2% increase per pay grade increase for employees in below market positions to move all staff to appropriate pay grades. The annual cost of this increase, assuming vacancy midpoints, is $118,300, including employee-related expenses. That amounts to an approximate $49,500 impact for the remainder of this fiscal year. The total cost for the remainder of this fiscal year for non-sworn employees would be $120,500. Moving on to police. Police staffing is currently at critical levels. Not only is our public safety pay lagging by approximately 10%, the applicant pool for new officers, both recruits and laterals, has dwindled significantly. I've spoken at length with the chief regarding a course of action to resolve the inequities, and we have discussed today's pay options and overall recommendation. So for context, on December 6th of 2021, the governor's office offered eligible DPS cadets and indicated that eligible DPS cadets and troops would receive a temporary 15% pay increase in the form of a stipend funded through ARPA, or virus relief money. The DPS increase expires June 24th, 2022, unless extended by the legislature. When considering option one, we would propose to increase the base rate of pay for all academy and sworn personnel by $2.70 per hour, plus a temporary premium pay stipend of 5%. Increasing base pay by $2.70 per hour is representative of the difference in midpoint between our current pay scale and the new pay scale recommended by the consultant. While this increase may make us more competitive with agencies in the region, adding a premium pay, which we would also fund through ARPA, allows the town to address the temporary but significant premium pay issue in relation to the market, which is where we are losing officers. Adding premium pay takes our officers to the upper quartile for the state. When considering the benefits and drawbacks, the biggest benefit with option 1 is that our lowest paid officers will receive the highest percentage increase. It will bring in a higher academy wage and a starting officer pay.
And Jessica, can I stop you there? Because if you're looking at $2.70 an hour, if you're making $50,000 a year, that's a bigger increase in reality than someone making $70,000 a year from impact.
Exactly. So, for example, our lowest paid officer right now makes $24.02 an hour. Giving that $2.70 per hour increase bumps his pay by 11%.
Right.
If we add on the 5% premium pay, that increases the rate significantly. It results in our highest paid officer receiving a 13% increase and our lowest paid officer receiving a 17% increase. Sergeants would receive between 12 and 13%, and command staff between 10 and 11%. The chief's percentage increase is limited due to ARPA eligibility. There is a wage threshold, and we can't add anything that would take them over the wage threshold without supplying written justification to the Treasury.
You okay with that, Chief?
The annual cost for a base pay increase of $2.70 per hour is $388,141 approximately, including employee-related expenses. That amounts to an approximate $161,725 impact for the remainder of this fiscal year. Adding the premium pay stipend of 5% increases the annual cost to $635,500, including employee-related expenses, which amounts to an approximate $642,000 impact for the remainder of this fiscal year. So approximately $265,000 to get us through fiscal year 22. Do we have any questions so far? No? Okay. Option 2 is a 10% increase across the board for all personnel. The cost of that is approximately $850,000 annually. That does include existing vacancies. Staff does not recommend option 2. Our lowest paid officers will experience the smallest fiscal impact, and those are the ones who are being actively recruited away from us at this point. And just so council is aware, we do have other considerations in the works for police. The memorandum of understanding with our employee group is currently in negotiations. The 2-year renewal contract is under negotiation. The town manager is in agreement with most provisions, and he is also.
Yeah, Jessica?
Yes, sir.
I'm available to talk on this slide.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I apologize that I'm not there in person. You could probably surmise why that is. I would do everything in my power to be there, but unfortunately it's not the. But, as noted during our last meeting, bringing the pay plan current is certainly an important factor to ensure that we're competitive for recruitment and retention purposes, but that's not the only factor. There are other forms of monetary and non-monetary compensation that come into play. And our current MOU with the Fraternal Order of Police expires in June. So as part of that meet and confer process for the 2-year renewal, that starts usually around the December timeframe. And in December, I did receive a list of items that the FOP wanted to see in or change to the MOU when the renewal was to take place. And those items will clearly add value and benefit to our officers. So I think it's safe for me to say that the discussions are going well and that we have come to agreement on most of the provisions and the items that they've requested. And maybe some of the mechanics haven't been fleshed out yet, but at least in principle, I think we're on the same page. And hopefully we can hash all that out and get that completed relatively soon. So along those lines, because we have the issues that we're having with staff retention, I offered this idea that, well, maybe we implement this renewal earlier. I figure if this is good enough for July, then it seems like it'd be good enough for now. So if we can hash those details out, I propose that we bring that back to council sooner and have it take effect immediately, assuming we can come to agreement on the remaining provisions. But there's some other items that are not part of the MOU process that also has come up through our discussions that I think would add a lot of value and benefit to our officers. Just a couple examples would be a fuel allowance. So this would essentially be an extension of our take-home vehicle policy. When we're looking at our comparator communities, one of the things that we notice is that a lot of those communities allow employees to take their vehicles home no matter where they live. That's not the case under our current policies. And for us, it might not be feasible that we increase the size of our fleet to the same level to make that happen. But there are other things that I think we can explore that would sort of be compensation to the employee in lieu of a take-home vehicle. And in this case, it would be in the form of a fuel allowance. So we're exploring those items outside of the MOU. Our vacation buyback program. As part of our discussion in the MOU process, we found out that officers are losing vacation time because they're at the cap for the vacation accrual. And our current policy has some conditions on whether or not you are eligible for vacation buyback. And unfortunately, a lot of our officers don't necessarily check the boxes off on those provisions. And so they requested something in the MOU process that, as I was analyzing it, seemed to be of lesser value than if they could just have their excess vacation time purchased back. And so what I offered was, well, let's take a look at, what the constraints are, and maybe we just need to loosen that up a little bit. And so that they would be eligible for the vacation buyback program and not lose the benefit.
AC, can you hear me?
Yep.
AC, and this is for the chief as well. No problem with the vacation buyback program, but with the op tempo and the stress level for the PD, is it wise that they're not taking vacation?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that is certainly a consideration. And, the benefit that council offers is vacation time. And we feel strongly as a management team as well that, you need time away from work to be a productive employee. You get your R&R and you come back and you're going to be better for it. And the organization will be better for it. But unfortunately, especially in the public safety world, sometimes it's just not feasible for that to occur. So in lieu of the employee just losing the excess time, this is one of the things that we're exploring, that at least they get some value for not being able to take the vacation and that they're just not losing that benefit outright.
And AC, in this particular occasion as well, because of shortages and things like that, it probably becomes paramount that they have to be here through no fault of their own. So, yeah, right.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, if I may, it's a little hard for me to hear, but I think, modifying the pay plan, making some changes to the MOU will go a long way in our recruiting and retention efforts, which will result in eventually our employees being able to take vacation, hopefully.
Right.
So I think that this is just part of the overall solution. Other items that we're looking at, if I may continue.
Please.
Education reimbursement. Through our discussions, we found out that there was this impression that we had limited funding and that it was obligated to others who were first in the line. I think that might be more of a communication failure on our end, because we did expand our program a little bit to have more budget capacity. But nevertheless, through our discussions, it looks like we could probably develop a prioritization process for who qualifies for that program, rather than have it be on a first come, first first served basis. And that was something that they suggested we take a look at, and we will do that. Other things that aren't on the list, evaluations and merits. There were some concerns about how we weight our competencies. And as a management team, we've already purchased a new evaluation software tool, and we're looking at new ways to handle evaluations, as well as what would result in for merits moving forward. We're in the process of updating our personnel manual. I think there are things that will come through that process that will be a benefit to our employees. And I think the message here that I'm trying to convey is that whether it's a contractual obligation or not, or even pay plan or not, we realize that we're going to have to be flexible to remain competitive in this market, and we're certainly open to that. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Jessica, unless there are any questions for me.
Well, and just to piggyback off of that, AC, and Councilmember Lusk brought it up, this is I see this as sort of a stopgap measure, that we have to work on. But I know you and staff, and hopefully our new town manager, will be looking at other creative ways, because I think we're going to continually have to be creative and look at ideas, not only near term, but also continually for the future.
And I might, if I may, Mayor.
Yes.
I also would like to think that that's going to be done in the near term as a priority, so that it doesn't fall behind, because we're going to be under observation, and I think we've got it moving in a good direction. We don't want to lose time.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, I have one question.
Yes.
Jessica. There we go. Does the option 1 bring us to the level that we're competitive with DPS?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I don't think that we can truly be competitive with DPS, but option 1 with the stipend does bring us to the top quartile in the state for officer pay.
In AC, I know you and I had a conversation on your philosophy on, how long the stipend would be, and then looking at this in the next year as a continuation. Did I misspeak on any of those issues?
No, Mr. Mayor, you're absolutely correct. Sort of the stipend concept and the fact that it's funded through a grant program, it connotates that it's a temporary thing. And, DPS's program is kind of structured the same way, where theirs expires in June, I believe it is, and the governor is looking to make that a permanent situation moving forward into the next fiscal year, and then obviously beyond. And I think we have to also be open to the fact that we may need to do the same. I think the stipend, it buys us time for now. We believe that there's going to be a lot of reaction in the market to what DPS, the state is doing, or what other agencies are doing. And we may have to, commit to the stipend, if you will, long term, and it'll just be part of a pay grade adjustment altogether.
Mr. Mayor, I really don't see any way around that as a fact.
Right. And that's why I wanted it out there that,
absolutely.
The word stipend feels like it ends, but, this is the money that we have. And I think it's, AC, weren't we talking about this is initially like a year and a half as a minimum, why we have these continual conversations to make it more permanent?
Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Thank you.
And just for an overall view, this would be the approximate fiscal year 22 impact.
Can you just get a little closer to the mic? Thanks.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So this is an overview of the approximate fiscal year 22 impact. So for the next 5 months, if council chooses to adopt one or two of the items that we've proposed, for non-sworn town employees, it's going to cost $120,500. If you choose the police stipend option, that option alone will be $265,000. $103,000 of that would be funded through ARPA. A 10% across the board increase for sworn police officers would be $355,000. Putting those two together, if you do the increase for non-sworn town personnel plus police option 1, it's $385,500 for the remaining time in this fiscal year, assuming it's implemented immediately. So that would be for the next 5 months. Choosing the increase for non-sworn town personnel plus police option 2, which is the 10% increase, the cost would be $475,500. And these are approximate. We had to round, but that's essentially what it would look like for the remainder of this year. An approximate annual impact, $289,000 for non-sworn town personnel, $635,500 for police increase plus the stipend, $247,100 of that would be funded through ARPA. A 10% increase for all police sworn personnel would be $850,000. So the approximate annual impact for non-sworn plus police option 1, $924,500. For non-sworn personnel plus police option 2, $1,139,000.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I just ask a question, Jessica? Why isn't the ARPA paying for 100%? Why are we splitting that? Why are we not using, are we using 100% of the funds available to us? Or is there's a reason why it's not? I'm looking at that middle one, why it's only $247,000 of it's being funded by it. Is there just not enough in that fund?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the $247,100 is the 5% stipend amount. You can certainly choose to increase the stipend, but as we just discussed, at some point you may need to make something permanent. So we felt that 5% would make us competitive, at least overly competitive with those other agencies in the region. It takes us to the top quartile of the state for police agencies.
So we can't use it for the salary increases, we can only use it for the stipend.
Correct.
And with the idea that if the stipend is to become permanent, that was something I think that was seen as sustainable.
Yeah.
A challenge, but sustainable, where if it went too high, to continue it.
Okay, thank you. And then AC will talk about affordability.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. So, those are fairly large numbers, and we realize that those financial impacts are not insignificant. So we need to be sure that we can afford to implement any of these recommendations. And unfortunately, it's not the ideal time to make that assessment, considering that we're in the early stages of the 2023 budget development process. However, if we look at the current year budget, within that budget is a 5-year plan. And in that plan, if we look at the 2023 forecast, you'll note that there are $1.8 million of operating surpluses, approximately, in our governmental funds. For our wastewater fund, we have a forecasted $1.4 million surplus.
Yeah.
So if we look at option 1, that would consume a little less than 40% of the governmental fund surplus, and it consumes a little under $50,000 of the wastewater surplus. And then also you notice that we have $3.2 million of undesignated and available ARPA funding. It would consume about $250,000 of that available ARPA funding. Moving to option 2, that would consume around 63% of the governmental fund surplus, and again, under $50,000 of the wastewater fund surplus. So that was from last year's forecast. So here we are in the new budget, which is under development. And as part of that process, I've developed preliminary revenue projections. And those preliminary revenue projections are better than what we forecasted last year. So that seems to indicate that, all things being equal, that our operating surplus will be that amount or higher. Now, the big question mark is on the expenditure side, because those are unknown. The departments are still in the process of putting in their expenditure budgets for the year. While they're unknown, you notice I say that they're under town control, and I probably shouldn't have been that definitive in that statement, because they're they're mostly under our control, but we don't control things such as inflation, and we know that there's a lot of upward pressure on our expenditures because of inflation. And we also know that we don't want to sacrifice the service levels that our communities come to expect from its government. As well as a growing town, we know that there's going to be greater pressure to provide more services and provide more of the needs and wants from our growing community. But all that being said, historically, we've always tried to take care of what we have before we start adding new things into the mix. And if we do stick with that, I am confident in saying that we can afford either of these recommended adjustments. And in doing so, I believe we can do that without sacrificing the core services that we provide today.
Mr. Mayor?
So, Jessica?
Jessica, did I hear you say that your recommendation was option one?
Yes.
Okay.
And just
And
to,
that addresses more of the core than just a flat increase across the board.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, yes, that is correct. Utilizing option one for police will help with recruitment and retention efforts. Our lowest paid officers will receive the biggest percentage increase,
Okay.
and they will see the biggest fiscal benefit from it.
Thank you.
that's what I was going to clarify as well
Yeah.
on there.
Any
Continue.
other questions?
Oh, are you finished?
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
Also with option one, we do have a financial policy that when you're looking at your funding sources that are available to you, if you have restricted sources and unrestricted sources that are both equally available to be used to pay for something, our policy says that we should use the restricted sources before we use unrestricted sources. And that's just prudent because that provides you, the governing body, the most amount of flexibility in how we spend our money. Whereas with restricted sources, you don't have that level of flexibility. So that would also seem to support option one.
Great.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
AC, were you able to meet with the FOP between the last meeting and today? I know that you've had ongoing discussions, but specific to this pay scale and everything?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I wasn't quite able to hear the question. Jessica, could you repeat it for me? You're coming through.
Councilmember Hicks asked if between the last meeting and today, if you were able to meet with the FOP regarding the new pay scale and these options.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have not met with the FOP.
Since the chief is here, no, I know, but just because I had asked him the question last time about kind of where it brought up that, the new pay would, from the beginning to the midpoint to the top, and we were at, 40 or 41 is where you thought we would need to be. Have you calculated where this one would take us to?
Yes, if I can ask one clarifying question to HR Director.
Yes.
Option one is the same percent having you earlier today, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So option one was workforce, I believe that along with the adjustments that we believe they will occur with MOU and or outside of MOU would be good for us, it would help us recruit, it would help us sustain.
Thank you. Well, absolutely.
We have
Again, we're a
so
very
many
protected,
officers here.
service
Yeah. Is there
here.
anybody that wants to speak or has any comments?
Shane, did you bring your posse with you? Is that what?
Tucson has two. I have none, but now I have a lot. Or maybe you do. I'm not sure which one. No? Well, thanks for being here either way.
Mr.
All right,
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Oh. Good. Can I make a motion?
absolutely.
Before.
Oh, yeah, that's, no here.
Mr. Mayor, can I jump in, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just want to make sure if there's a motion made that you give an effective date. I don't know if we've talked about that.
And what's the recommendation from staff?
Right.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, staff recommends that this be implemented effective with the next pay cycle.
Okay.
Which is January 30th, beginning on Sunday.
Okay.
You also do have the option of making it retroactive to January 2nd, which is the beginning of the first pay cycle in this fiscal year. The impact will be a little bit greater, It's approximately, I believe, $465,000 if you wanted to make it retroactive.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
going along these lines, I'm not going to lose it, but first, again, I think we all know, but I'm going to repeat it anyway. We have about 1,000 homes are under construction, so we don't have to worry about our future in the sense of we know that we're going to have growth of X percentage coming at us. And so in most things involving police and enforcement, it's better to be prepared for rather than respond to those kind of increases. That's an important consideration. And I certainly would support backing up to the start of January as a continuation of trying to do this as well as we can.
Okay, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move to adopt the proposed pay structure, associated budget transfers, and staff recommended pay adjustments for non-sworn town employees and police option 1 for sworn employees effective January 2nd, 2022.
Second.
Any further discussion? Thanks for all the reporting and the heavy work by staff. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, guys, you can go back to work now.
That's right. Madam Clerk, number 12.
Discussion and possible authorization of a budget amendment appropriating $42,000 of available fund balances in the general fund for the Department of Law to hire an attorney.
Finally, we're going to get an attorney.
We've been one for a long time, haven't we?
Mr. Mariotti, were you going to present this, or am I?
Mr. Hockley, I believe this is your ask, which I support.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as you know, a while ago, we lost Jessica to.
Just down the office, not lost.
We didn't lose
We know
her.
where she is.
We know where she is.
Yes, thank you.
But we were not able to fill that position. And then that position was unfunded in this year's budget. I will point out again, I'm the only department that lost any FTE this fiscal year, and I tried mightily to keep up. I really have, and I just can't. And I feel that I'm falling behind, and I feel like I'm not serving the town, particularly in areas like development agreements where I just can't get them done because I'm doing the more routine work. Mark, my paralegal, has done a young person's job. See what I did there?
Yes, I did.
Helping me out, but I've just learned that my prosecutor's legal assistant has taken a job with the police department.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark is now going to be filling in there until we can get somebody. And I was going to ask next fiscal year, but after discussing with Mr. Mariotti, we decided the best thing for the town and for the progress of the town is for us to fill this position.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Dan, no problem. I think that we need, but are you going to be looking for somebody as maybe the heir apparent?
The good question, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Bracco. No, we've talked about doing that, and if any of you would like to give feedback on that, that's great. We were thinking of as a staff, what I would call associate attorney. It's a newer attorney that would not be the heir apparent, but hopefully we'll be able to also help out. Right now, if we need a backup prosecutor, we have an outside lawyer that does that. If this person can learn the prosecution side, then this person can be a backup for prosecution, so Rona can take vacations. I'm just lousy at that. I have filled in prosecution, but I'm not good at it, and I don't have the time to do it. But we're thinking more as a staff attorney, and then when either you're ready to search for my position or I'm ready to retire, then we'll go out and look for that position.
Okay.
But another advantage of this is, I haven't missed a council meeting in decades, and it would be nice if I needed to miss a council meeting, if we had a lawyer that could be here for you. There's just nobody else. It's just me. So, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move to approve a $42,000 appropriation of available fund balances in the general fund for Department of Law to hire an attorney.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and having no more further business for the town council, we're adjourned. You called it.